On the evening of August 12, 1985, a Boeing 747 lifted off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport bound for Osaka. It was carrying 524 people, 509 passengers, and 15 crew members. 12 minutes after takeoff, at 24,000 feet, everything changed. A catastrophic structural failure tore through the aircraft, creating an opening nearly 10 feet wide. In the minutes that followed, 520 people would lose their lives in what remains the deadliest single aircraft accident in history. But here's what makes this disaster unique. It didn't start on that evening. It started 7 years earlier, with a single decision made by aircraft technicians that would echo through time until it became unstoppable. The story begins on June 2, 1978, more than 7 years before Flight 123's final flight. The same aircraft, operating as Japan Airlines Flight 115, experienced a severe tail strike during landing in Osaka. The impact was violent enough to crack the aft pressure bulkhead, the critical wall separating the pressurized cabin from the unpressurized rear fuselage. A team of Boeing technicians was dispatched to repair it. They had a precise procedure to follow: use one continuous splice plate reinforced with 3 rows of rivets. But they didn't follow it. Instead of one continuous splice plate with 3 rows of rivets, the Boeing technicians installed 2 separate splice plates. This seemingly small deviation had a devastating consequence. It eliminated the effectiveness of one crucial row of rivets. The repair's resistance to fatigue cracking dropped significantly below what a correct repair would have provided. The aircraft was cleared for service and returned to Japan Airlines operations. No one flagged the deviation. No one calculated what it might cost. 7 years passed. Flight 123 flew thousands of routes. Every takeoff and every landing subjected the repaired bulkhead to pressure cycles, the fuselage expanding and contracting as the cabin pressurized and depressurized. The engineers at Boeing had calculated that the faulty repair would eventually fail after repeated pressure cycles. But Flight 123 kept flying. By August 12, 1985, the aircraft had undergone thousands of such cycles, far exceeding the expected operational stress on the weakened repair. During the flight, the inevitable moment arrived. The aft pressure bulkhead ruptured violently. A decompression that took mere seconds unleashed catastrophic structural damage. The cabin ceiling collapsed near the rear lavatories. The vertical stabilizer tore away from the fuselage. The rudder separated. All 4 of the aircraft's hydraulic systems were ruptured. In an instant, the crew lost control of every conventional flight surface. The 747, one of aviation's most powerful aircraft, had been reduced to a glider with only one way to steer, by adjusting engine thrust alone. The cockpit voice recorder captured the moment. A single bang, followed by vibration and the hiss of decompression. Captain Masami Takahama immediately signaled an emergency on the transponder and requested a return to Tokyo. But behind him, First Officer Yutaka Sasaki and Second Officer Hiroshi Fukuda faced an impossible situation. They could lower the flaps, they could lower the landing gear, but they had no rudder, no elevators, and no way to control the aircraft's pitch and roll, except by varying the thrust to each of the 4 engines. They were flying a machine that shouldn't be flyable. For an extended period, the crew of Flight 123 fought for control. They descended slowly, coaxing the damaged aircraft toward Haneda Airport with nothing but engine power and determination. Every decision had to be calculated. Every adjustment to throttle position affected the plane's heading and altitude. They transmitted their status calmly. They managed the descent with precision. Throughout this period, the 3 pilots did everything right. But the structural damage was too great. The aircraft was too broken. In the early evening, Flight 123 struck the slope of Mount Takamagahara, 100 kilometers northwest of Tokyo. The impact was absolute. The aircraft disintegrated across the mountainside. The fuselage scattered in pieces. Smoke rose into the evening sky. Of the 524 people aboard, 520 were killed instantly or in the hours that followed. The search and rescue teams could not reach the crash site until dawn. When they arrived, the devastation was total. Everything was wreckage. 4 passengers survived. All of them came from the rear of the aircraft, the only section strong enough to withstand the impact. Yumi Ochiai, an off-duty flight attendant, was pulled from the wreckage. Hiroko Yoshizaki and her 8-year-old daughter Mikiko were found in row 54. 12-year-old Keiko Kawakami was discovered hanging from tree branches, catapulted out of her seat by the force of impact. 4 survivors. 4 people who should not have survived. 4 witnesses to a tragedy that claimed everyone else. The official investigation placed all blame on that single faulty repair made years earlier. One decision to deviate from Boeing's procedure. 1 row of rivets eliminated. 1 oversight that no inspector caught. The disaster became a watershed moment in aviation maintenance. The principle was clear. A repair must restore original structural strength, and deviation from approved procedures, no matter how minor it seems, can accumulate into catastrophic failure across thousands of cycles. Japan Airlines never recovered its reputation, but the industry learned, and every aircraft flying today carries that lesson in its maintenance manual.